before we get to too many questions, Matt, you put in an RPM earlier today for a defensive end to come to Florida State. I won't put you on Front Street. Tomiwa Durojaye. Everybody's working together here, but your thoughts on that particular prospect, Kentucky by way of West Virginia, however you want to put it, and where Florida State stands with that particular player.
Yeah, I think Florida State's in a really good spot there. He did decline the interview yesterday, but he did tell us the visit went great while he was walking out. I talked to him a little bit last night, not really about the visit, but I just kind of get the vibes that Florida State's in a very good spot here, and they need to be. They've missed on a few edge rushers already, and this is a big one that they need.
That makes sense. Your thoughts, Matt, on the process itself and how soon it's going to close. Again, Ira and I joked about it. A dean will write a letter to get a good football player here at Florida State enrolled this semester so they can participate in spring football. But it gets confusing sometimes with, the portal entry windows and then enrollment deadlines. But they're at the very least going to be hosting some kids this weekend again, right?
Yeah, so one guy we expect them or is likely to visit this weekend is Alabama running back Roydell Williams. As for the time-wise, it kind of gets complicated with bowl games. Players get 5 business days. Business days is the key term there from when their bowl game ends. So keep in mind, like Florida State's bowl game was December 30th. The 31st and the 1st is a holiday. So then the 5 business days start the 1st to enter. So that's why you're kind of seeing guys still get in there. And it's also to enter – that's just to get the paperwork in. It still takes 24 to 48 hours from the paperwork going in to actually be in the portal. So that's why today might be the last day for the deadline for a lot of kids, but 2 more days to go and you'll still see people entering.
Yeah. I think when there was so much kind of, frustration or angst when the portal opened and Florida State was not real active, go back to December and, Ole Miss has already got seems like 30 guys out the portal and everybody's kind of going wild and Florida State was really quiet. Do you think, do you get the sense that this was the plan all along? Do you feel like they're positioned where they need to get to, or are they still playing catch up?
I think this is where they wanted to be, or what they wanted to do. When it came to early in the portal window, before the bowl games kind of started getting going, they thought there was going to be a lot more kids to enter after they played their team's bowl games. It was they were trying not to fall in love at first sight. They were trying not to take kids right away. Now you're at the point where you can take these kids right away, and you have to take these kids right away. And just from talking to people around more and hearing stuff, I do think this is what they wanted to do. Like when you had, I can't remember his name, but you had the Indiana offensive lineman come in early in the portal window. They weren't going to take him right away, and it became kind of obvious. It's just because they wanted to see what else is going to come. So now you have Terrence Ferguson, who's a big dude who came in this weekend. You have all those more opportunities come in, and they did expect that post-bowl games, especially from teams like playoffs where you're seeing them take advantage of Alabama right now, honestly.
I'm curious, Matt, just your thoughts on some of the players that are here on campus that are going to be a part of the roster. They were a part of the roster that are taking part, either going the extra mile for interviews or making sure the kids feel at home, or that it is explained to them what Florida State is all about. Every year somebody takes the lead there, and with so many players leaving for professional pastures, if you will, of the NFL, I wonder if some of those guys have become known at this point around more.
You're talking like players, like helping recruit?
And players helping recruits, kind of showing them the ropes, even though they don't necessarily have to be here. Yeah, who are some of those guys?
Yeah, number one for me has got to be Ja'Kai Douglas right now, just because his brother's here now with Jalen Lucas, half-brother, I believe it is. That was a big part. And Jalen Lucas went to Edna Carr, so he was teammates with Greedy and Destin Hill. So all those guys played a big part in that. For the most part, a lot of players were not here this weekend, but I think just because obviously they have their break before classes started today. But I think in general, Ja'Kai's got to be the biggest and play the biggest part, just because he basically recruited his brother here, and then you have Destin and Greedy kind of doing the same thing for their high school teammate.
Yeah, it was kind of the one thing that came through in some of the interviews. The portal recruitment is just so different from the high school recruitment. The high school recruits, they come in, there's a ton of players around. It feels like they get more of the whole experience. And these guys are older dudes and they've seen more. And it's almost like, I don't know, I just get the feel they want to talk to some current players to find out if what the coaches are telling them is true. And so they may do phone calls and things like that. But it seems like these conversations, like our guy Benson last night, it's just straight business. These conversations are different, right? Because these guys they know what they want in a school, right? More so than a high school kid.
Yeah, for sure. You kind of know what you want going into. Like you said, straight business is probably the best quote we've had so far to explain the portal cycle. They don't do photo shoots as much. It's just not it. They talk ball and really only ball. Maybe a little money too, but that's not mine to say. But it's a lot about that. And I think Malik Benson's interview really capsuled all that. And to add another player into that, he was actually teammates with Jaden Jones over at Hutchinson Community College in Kansas. So he's another one who played a big part in getting someone here this cycle.
Yeah, I know as well. He's an alumni now, but Braden Fisk played a bit of a role for Florida State to land Grady Kelly. But Matt, before we get to some questions specific to Warchant TV, maybe just some of the kids that showed up on campus that impressed you, eye test or the way they interviewed, if they did decide to take an interview outside. Some of those guys who are now Noles, who said yes to Florida State, that left an impression on you.
I do like Jalen Lucas a lot. Not just his film. I mean, he's really fast and he's going to be explosive. And Florida State finally has a true return guy, which I don't think we've had in a while. But just talking to him, he kind of seemed very humble about it and cool. Honestly, I really liked talking to him. I also like talking to Grady Kelly a lot. He was excited, really excited. He's from the Panhandle. Navarre, I think, is the exact town. He was just excited to get home. The way he was talking about, he's just a very personable human being, I think. I think a lot of people will like him because he was talking about, I got my beautiful fiance right here. And his fiance was actually recording the interview herself along on the side. So I think they were just excited for the whole Florida State experience and for him to be back home. It's going to be a good replacement for Fisk being a fan favorite. I think Grady Kelly's going to be a fan favorite too.
Maybe she's starting her own website. We need to watch out. She might be competition.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, is it Micah Pittman energy? We'll find out. So questions for Matt as it pertains to the portal right now here on Warchant TV in the live chat, whether you're part of the YouTube side of things, Facebook side, Twitter/X, we can see all of those questions and we'll pick a few here for Matt before his time is done for the evening. B wants to know, any incoming linebacker? I figured this would be a question. Any incoming linebacker or additional defensive line? What are you hearing, Matt?
Sadly, right now, no. That's kind of the simple answer. I think in general, defensive lines had some strong people come in the portal, but linebacker has probably been one of the weaker positions this portal cycle. You had one guy everyone was looking after was from Alabama, linebacker that entered today. Kendrick Blackshire. He was from Dallas, so I was excited when he entered, but we do not expect Florida State to go after him. But yeah, right now I think that's one of the positions you will look at in the spring. That's gonna be one of the ones that's fun to watch. We'll see if Blake Nicholson or Cryer kind of develop into someone who could start. But if they don't,
what about Stephon Thompson, the kid from Syracuse?
Oh, so he right now is also, we're kind of expecting him to go to Nebraska. You
mean to visit Nebraska or commit to Nebraska?
Commit to Nebraska. He did visit Nebraska. Sorry for the confusion. I had heard he might not take that visit, but he ended up taking it. And now it's looking fairly likely that he will be a Cornhusker and not a Nole. So again, it's the way the linebackers have been recently. It's hard to tell, but that is definitely a position of need, probably going into the spring window.
Okay. Thank you, B, for that question there. That's the one thing to make sure that we stress. This isn't it. Florida State snapped quite a few good players in the spring window and graduate transfers as well. They can kind of freelance. Go ahead, Ira.
And as Matt said before, that there's two teams playing tonight that will have an additional 4 or 5 days for players to possibly go in the portal. So there are still possibilities.
Especially if a certain head coach takes it on down to the NFL before his program gets penalized for it. Yeah, you could see if that happens. Gator Kirk, what's up, Gator Kirk? How you doing? What happened to the interest in Evan Stewart, Matt?
I still think it's there right now. He did visit Oregon this weekend. Evan Stewart's kind of someone who likes to work in the shadows, it feels like. He doesn't really talk a whole lot. He kind of keeps to himself. It is someone, I will say, that a lot of programs have backed off of, which is kind of reading between the lines there. Tennessee and Ole Miss both said they were out of the race. I still think Florida State is in contact. I still think there's interest, and he is still someone who could visit this weekend. I know I said that all week last week, but he is someone I think will just pop in and we won't really know is coming.
Didn't he tweet something? I think it was him that tweeted something about wanting to get
Mental
right
health.
physically,
No.
mentally. He said talked about his physical and mental health. And I wonder if he's been dealing with some injuries that, we never really talk about this because it's never, between HIPAA and like players, a lot of times don't want to talk about injuries and coaches don't want to talk about injuries. Certainly the head coach of Florida State doesn't want to talk about injuries. But sometimes when guys have injuries, it's not an easy diagnosis and it's not an easy fix. And sometimes guys will go a year. There are guys in this current team I know of who went through a year or two of trying to figure out exactly what the problem was. And then they figure it out and the player takes off. So when I saw that tweet, it resonated with me because that can be a real thing. And if schools are looking for somebody for immediate help, they may not want to invest in somebody like that. But a school who might be looking more, we think there's so much talent there that we can invest 2 years into them. Maybe a school like Florida State or whoever else might be interested. So I think there's something going on there, like you said, that we don't know all the whole story.
Yep.
Next up here on Warchant TV is Chase. Is there a chance at Nakai Hill-Green? That would be the Charlotte linebacker. Do I have that right?
Yeah, I'm not really sure there, honestly. Haven't heard a whole lot about him since the visit. I know the visit went well, just with trying to get other linebackers and other people in. I feel like he's kind of been overlooked at this point with all the other talent visiting. Don't know a whole lot about him. I'm going to keep looking into him. I don't think anything has happened yet there.
I think Michael posted that he didn't think right now that he was their top option or something like that.
I would agree with that. The guy would rather take, I think Stephon Thompson would be a take before he would be.
Yeah, that makes sense. Being selective. Feels like there's urgency, but again, there's another window. Jordan Newton, do we want safety help? Well, could Earl Little be that? Or are we looking to pick another one up? What do you think, Matt?
Well, I actually heard that Devontae Brown, who became official this morning, I believe, we saw him around the facility last night. It was just kind of a matter of we were waiting for it to become official. I heard he was actually being pushed to commit as a safety and not a DB. So that could be your answer there.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Yeah, and as you said too, I think Earl Little's a guy. And the thing we've seen with this coaching staff for the last several years is that they like interchangeable corners and DBs. I mean, I think we all thought, we just look at last season, how much Jarian Jones ends up at nickel. They were working him at safety. They've mixed and matched those guys so much that and how many times in recruiting, and Matt can talk about this, but a lot of times when these corners and DBs commit to Florida State, a lot of times the coaches won't even say you're definitely this or you're definitely that. They like to cross train them. So I think that's some of these guys that they may already have may end up being safeties.
Yeah, a lot of times the answer is I'll do whatever to help the team when it comes to placement like that when we interview them.
Yeah, makes sense. One more question from the audience here, and that's Florida Man in Texas. What's your number one wish list player available? Apologies if you already answered it on 3.
I have not. My number one wish list for more personal reasons would be Evan Stewart, just because he's from my hometown and he's really good. I just think there's some, as we already discussed, I think there's some other reasons there why it could be going so slow and school should be dropping off. But that would be my number one wish list.
So, Matt, before we let you go for the evening, it's not just about the portal. Florida State has a junior day coming up this month. I mean, my God, does it ever stop for the coaching staff?
Yeah, the PRB has felt overcrowded. I think the junior day is January 20th weekend, it seems like. And we had Zayden Walker today is the one who said, Zayden Walker is the one who said he will be visiting that weekend. 5-star linebacker. A
5-star linebacker, people.
Linebacker. You also had there's a lot of linebackers in 2025 class. They already have a 4-star committed in Ethan Pritchard. TJ Alford is another one who isn't committed, but Florida State is doing very well there. Maybe 2025 is the year of Randy Shannon. We'll see.
Could it be a Ron Dugans-like turnaround for Randy Shannon? Find out next, in the next year, that is, on Warchant TV. Matt, thank you very much for the time tonight. Continuing awesome work on the PRB for the transfer portal stuff. Thank you for all you do.